Are you going to be nervous when you watch it?
Hey guys, welcome in, welcome in. It's hump day. Happy hump day. Come on in. Welcome. For those of you who are going to be joining me live, welcome in. Make sure that you click that little share button. Share and invite some friends to the party. Hey Jay. Hey Kara. Look, y'all see me going like this because I can't see. Like, I have glasses on, I still can't see. If you have not been in before on one of my live streams, you don't know what I do. What's up, Yvette? You don't know what I do. You don't know why I do whatever. Let me introduce myself. So my name is Marcy Batiste. I'm a public speaker and I'm an author, and I'm sold out to my happiness, and I am sold out to helping other women shine. So by helping them shine, I mean really truly taking them on a journey of their own to help them discover and fully embrace their star power. And those of you who work with me, either one-on-one or in group coaching sessions, know exactly what star power is all about. If you are someone who's interested in joining the Raising the Bar community, inbox me. I love sharing that information. So in addition to my personal coaching and my writing and my public speaking, I also own a company called Bankable Success Advisors, which is a leading recovery solutions provider. And what I do, what Bankable Success does is, hey Terry, we help individuals and businesses optimize their personal, professional, time, financial, all of their investments so that they can get the best return, optimal return in the best time possible. We want to truly impact that bottom line, and sometimes that bottom line means relationships, sometimes that bottom line means career, sometimes that bottom line is revenue generation in the case of organizations. And then also many of you know that I'm a domestic violence champion, so all of my work with domestic violence, both on the personal side with trauma recovery, and then on the business side doing domestic and workplace violence training for businesses. So that's who I am, and what I'm doing here tonight is my 30 books in 30 weeks reading challenge reloaded. And this all funnels into what it means to truly raise the bar. And raising the bar is about taking and up-leveling everything that you already know, everything that you already have experienced, and really truly, like I tell my clients, making this year the best year of your life. Like every single year, you should improve on the great year that you had the year before. And what happens is a lot of times people make resolutions, they don't stick to them because they don't have a plan. They don't have a strategy, which is the key component to star power, is being strategic in your choices and your decisions and your planning. And so I actually started a coaching program January 15th with a group of ladies called Raising the Bar, 60 Days Laser Coaching. And that's really truly what we're focusing on, is being strategic about that planning. And it's amazing. Like, we are 3 days in and the ladies are already sharing successes. And we did a share today about for them to share some wins that they've already had yet this week. And mind you, we just started on Monday. So they did their onboarding and one-on-ones the week before, but the crux of the coaching and so forth really just started this week, and they're already seeing results. They're already seeing changes being made, and I'm hearing changes in their conversation. And so much of what we do. Hey, what's going on, Faith Michael? Thanks for joining me, guys. If you're on, share. But they're already seeing results, and so that's huge for me. And so for me, raising the bar also meant increasing my commitment to myself, increasing my commitment to my own personal development. I always say, when I get better, my clients get better. And so I had been doing reading challenges and sharing from the different books that I read for the last few months. But for 2018, I decided I was going to do 30 books in 30 weeks, and we would invest an entire week per book so that you can really get the full, conceptually, the full concept of each of these books. What's going on, Steph? Oh, thank you, Michael. Love you too, boo. So you can get the full concept of these books. And so I'm rating my personal development library. I got my mentors sending me stuff. I've got clients sending me things that they've read and that they've truly enjoyed. And this is truly an exciting time. It's an exciting time. So this week we're on week 3, crucial conversations. So we've invested the last couple of days talking about what is a crucial conversation, what are the components, why is it crucial, what makes it crucial versus just an average conversation, right? And so we're talking about there's 3 components that you can kind of decide, okay, yeah, this is going to be probably an important conversation. You can call them crucial conversations. You can call them, the book is called Crucial Conversations. They call them, they also say high stakes when the stakes are high. And so I call them high stakes conversations. You can just say, this is going to go all wrong. So, but the words that you use when you start referring to and facing the conversation from a this is going to go all wrong standpoint, that's going to lead into trouble. So really understanding that the 3 components, number 1, there's a difference of opinion. So a lot of times those conversations become arguments. Number 2, high stakes, there's something on the line, somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to win, or that's the feeling going into it. And then number 3, it's just emotionally charged. So you already feel some type of way. Like, that's the thing. Like, I just feel some type of way. And then so we talked earlier in the week about how sometimes people want to avoid those conversations, or how sometimes you engage in them in kind of a diarrhea of the mouth way. So you wait until you're thoroughly pissed off and you can't take it anymore, and now may not be the best time, but you're going to get your 2 cents in. You're gonna speak your piece per se. Well, you just created a crucial conversation that may not have to have been that crucial. And so tonight we're going to really talk about, yesterday we talked about how you go from crucial conversations to creating dialogue. Long hair don't care. Y'all are funny. Hey Steph, pick me, right? And so people tend to walk away from them. They, like I said, they tend to have them when they really shouldn't. Like, you probably should go do some deep breathing exercises or something and come back to this, because what happens is for dialogue to happen, you have to be able to be candid. So you got to be able to be honest, but you also have to be able to be respectful. And oftentimes those emotions get so high that if you're not strategically creating dialogue in this conversation, the emotion takes over, and so then you do stuff like and it's natural to revert to what you're accustomed to. So if you're somebody who's usually volatile, you're somebody who likes to raise your voice, you're somebody who likes to do the whole name calling thing, heaven forbid you're somebody who likes to throw stuff, and then you've got the ones who just cave in and say forget it, you win. Well, no, if you feel like you lost, then it's not about a win or lose, because both parties should be able to feel like they were heard and that they were respected in the process. And that's what makes it a dialogue. It's really, truly, right, Yvette, being strategic. Yvette knows that's what I talk about all the time, being strategic. Been doing that, but I'm military. Yes, if you got that military background, I know y'all are big on rules and regulations and all that kind of stuff. But it's normal, is what I guess I'm trying to say, you guys, for people to want to revert back to what they've always done, the way they've always done it. They call it the path of least resistance, right? Those are the things. And so when I talk about practicing strategies, practicing new processes, I'm talking about practicing when it doesn't really matter. Practice having good dialogue and good conversations when they're not crucial conversations, when that emotional element's not there, or when that high stakes is not there. So you can be emotionally charged about something and feel strongly about it and still practice your dialoguing skills without having that emotional charge, or not have. So if one of the 3 components is missing, that's a good time to practice. Don't practice when all 3 are in place. Like, that's a time for you to be strategic and really truly know going in. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight, is really how do you keep from going back to the path of least resistance and what you've always done. You know what they say, you do what you always do, you get what you always got. And I wanted to read you guys this this quote, because I absolutely stinking love this. It said, Speak when you are angry and you'll make the best speech you'll ever regret. Boom. That's it. That's the key to dialogue right there. Speak when you're angry and you will make the best speech you will ever regret. So if you're mad, keep your mouth shut until you can check yourself, right? What happens when they take advantage of that patience? Because, okay, so Steph's asking what happens. So you are someone who's practicing crucial conversations, and the other person we talked about yesterday maybe doesn't have those skills, isn't interested in learning those skills, and it's difficult. So it is difficult. But so what we're going to talk about tonight is how you create that dialogue, because ultimately this is about staying respectful, but still being able to be candid. So having your true opinions heard, your perspectives. And so the first thing is be clear and be honest. So be clear about where you stand. Where does that line fall for you? Is it, be clear about what you want kind of going into the conversation. And I shared an example the other day of my conversation I had with one of my exes one time. And when I knew going into the conversation, because I had tried to have this conversation with him, he was defensive. So to your point, Steph, didn't have these skills, was not interested in dialogue. He was used to getting his way, basically. And so when I was trying to have a conversation, I had exercised the things that we're going to talk about. So I knew going into the conversation exactly what my boundaries looked like. And I was very honest with myself. And I was very clear what I want coming out of this. And what I wanted coming out of it was for him to accept some ownership over some bad behaviors and then agree to make changes to some behaviors. And instead he said to me, I don't give a damn what you do. I don't care what you do. Do whatever you want. And so because I was clear, I knew he's not going to change. The behaviors aren't going to change. His willingness to dialogue isn't going to change. And so I ended the relationship 3 days later after I thought about it. So be clear. And then be honest. When I say be honest about the role that you play in where you are right now. Because in every relationship, personal, intimate, professional, familial, it doesn't matter. There's two people involved in this exchange, and neither one of us are perfect beings. And so, but building a good relationship on a solid foundation, what's up, China? It involves compromise sometimes. And so there is some give and take. And then there are some things that are deal breakers and boundary breakers. And you have to know, first of all, what your boundaries are. So we talked about being strategic, being clear about the boundaries, knowing what you want going in. And then also along with the clarity piece, being clear to what you're willing to give up and what you're willing to walk away from. And so in my case, I knew if this behavior isn't going to change, I'm leaving the relationship. And it was a non-negotiable for me. So when he said to me, I don't care what you do, whatever the hell you want, I ain't apologizing, I ain't blah, blah, blah. I never asked you to apologize for anything. I asked you to be willing to try something different. And he wasn't willing to do that, so I left the relationship. But I was clear about that going in. I knew that the conversation was probably not going to be that way. And so to answer your question, the really long way, Steph, is that clarity piece and being honest about how invested are you in continuing that relationship if you're constantly put in a position where you feel like you're not being heard and you're always being disrespected. For me, that's a deal breaker. So I'm very clear about that. If I can't operate with you in integrity, then I don't want to operate with you at all. And I'm very clear about that. And so that's what you do to the people who you feel take advantage of it. You got to get clear and you got to get real honest about what value then does this relationship have. And if it has none, am I prepared to walk away? And sometimes, you'll walk away from situations for a little bit and then absence suddenly makes people willing to have dialogue. sometimes. And so, there's nothing wrong with going back into negotiation. But if you go back into negotiation, just reinforces crappy personality. You're funny, Michael. If you go back into negotiations with that individual, understand that there's a very, very strong chance, unless they've done some work, it's not going to change. So they'll be willing to listen up until the point to get you re-engaged, and then they're going to revert to path of least resistance, what they're used to, and it's going to go probably just the way it's always went, because they haven't changed. And that's why that clarity piece of you being honest about, being clear about what you want, being clear about what you need, what your boundaries are, what your expectations are, and then honest about the role you play. Do you have some work to do, and do your work, and then what am I willing to walk away from? But when it's family, how do you, when it's family is people. And so there's a thing that I call, this is actually going a little bit deeper than I had planned to, but this is an important conversation, so I'm actually glad you asked that, Steph. There's a thing I call roles, titles, and responsibilities. And you can twist those around, so it can be titles, roles, and responsibilities, whatever. It doesn't matter the order, but here's the thing. So once you assign a title to someone, no, don't be sorry, because this is what this is for. So I'm glad you're asking, and this particular tool has nothing to do with this book, but it's a great strategy for managing relationships with family in particular. And I know that it works because I've successfully managed to navigate multiple family issues this way. So number one and number two is the same thing with any crucial conversation. The knowing what you want, blah, 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 walking away. Here's the thing with family. Each of us comes into a relationship, whether it's a family, and we'll use that example as family for this scenario. So each of us comes into the family with different dynamics, right? And so you're born into a family, but that family existed before you got there. So whoever's already in the family, the elders, let's say aunts, uncles, older cousins, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, extended families, in-laws, etc. You were born into that environment. So let's say as a child, you're the newbie. From being the newbie, then you grow up, and those individuals that you grew into the family with started teaching you things. And so that's how pathologies are built. Family pathologies, family habits, family traits, family behaviors. It could be alcoholism, it could be abuse, it could be good habits, health and fitness, it could be nutrition, whatever. That builds the foundation for what you're going to begin to formulate as your personality and your behaviors. Then you reach a point where you're an adult. You start to see, I don't want to be like Uncle Joe. I don't want to be like Aunt Mary. My cousin Keisha is crazy. Don't want to be like that. And so you start seeing things that are in the family dynamic that don't fit your values. They don't fit your values. They don't fit what you want for your life. They don't fit how you want your life to look. They don't fit how you want to be treated. And so you start discarding, right? But we've said we're family. With the title family comes certain expectations. Certain expectations that family should behave in a certain way. And the reality is family behaves badly more often than not. No, this isn't in the book, Steph. You did not throw the conversation off. You did not throw the conversation off, because this is part of that training. And these are things that I usually work with clients on, but this is crucial to having crucial conversations and being able to have healthy dialogue. And it goes into that building process. So it's like building that foundation. So if you look at it like a triangle, right? You got to have, before you can get here, you got to have all this other stuff going on. Does that make sense? So you get to the point, you decide, oh, that doesn't work for me, that doesn't work for me. I like that, so I'm going to keep that. I don't like that, I do like that. So then you start building, okay, and now all of a sudden you've become Steph. Then Steph goes off to the military in this example. Steph learns from a whole new set of experiences that family has not had. So now Steph's looking at it like, oh, so this is something that you can do. Oh, this is an option. Oh, I don't have to do this, or I don't have to do that. Meanwhile, family's still over here operating on the same pathologies that they've always operated on, doing the same things they've always done, getting the same results they've always got. Meanwhile, you are over here in the military, learning, exploring the world, meeting new cultures, incorporating new lifestyles, whole 9 yards. Family hasn't done that. So Steph comes back to family that she was born into, with this set of expectations that family should have your back, family should love you, family should be respectful, family should. And the reality is family doesn't always. So you're like, but they're family, so how do I? So I want you to take the title of family off of them, and I want you to look at them as individual people, and then be able to say, as an individual person, Uncle Joe, these are the behaviors of Uncle Joe. Would I choose, were he not family, to be in relation with him as a friend or as a colleague or as a business partner? If Uncle Joe exhibits behaviors, minimizes you, disrespects you, all of that, and exhibits whatever qualities that you deem is not someone that you would choose to be in relation to, you don't have to be in relation to him. We think that because they're family, and so we were born into this dynamic, that we must stay engaged in the madness. And one of the things that I said was rebuke the foolery, right? Rebuke the foolery. And that's one of the strategies in the book. And that's like with dealing with family. Same thing. I'm not trying to minimize this, because it's one of the hardest things, absolutely, with things going on. We were raised that way. Okay, we're raised that way, and that's my point. You don't have to continue to do things the way you've always done them. You can choose different when you know different is possible. Because I can and I will cut them off. Then cut it. You better cut it. Like, cut it. Like, and that's the thing, is we get so hung up on, oh, well, that's my sister or that's my brother. First of all, you know if your sisters or brothers are crazy. You know if they exhibit bad behaviors. You know if Uncle Joe and Aunt Mary always come to the Thanksgiving dinners and they mess everything up and the whole party go. Okay, you get to choose not to go have holidays with Uncle Joe and Aunt Mary. You get to choose not to invest time with your siblings. You get to choose, no matter, take the title of family off of it, take the title of sister off, the title of brother, uncle, auntie, cousin, grandma, whatever. Take all of those titles off, because with them, you're saying, because you're family, if that's the title I've given it, because you're family, then I have to deal with you. No, you don't. You're grown. They're grown. You don't have to deal with them. You get to choose who you are in relation with, and you get to teach them how to be in relation with you. Does that make sense? It doesn't matter if they're family, and it doesn't matter. And I also want to point out on this subject that, let's take the example of friend. And remember when I said you're born into this set of experiences, right? And everybody brought all their baggage. So when you remove the titles and you just look at them as individual people, they came up with experiences. Big smiles. I love you, Steph. They came up with experiences too. So you don't know what made them how they are, because they were that way when you got here, when it's family, right? They were already that way. And so, but you have to remember that bad behavior usually stems from bad experiences. Does that excuse the bad behavior? No, because they're grown and they can choose differently, just like you can choose differently. And so take the title of friend, right? This comes up all the time. Friends have falling outs because they have a different definition of what friend means to them. So if I said Marcy and Stephanie are friends, I could be like, well, I think a friend should bring you soup when you're sick. I think a friend should send you a good morning text message. I think a friend should, call and check on you a couple times. I think that I don't live in the same city. So I think my friend, if you really were a friend kind of thing, and you know how we do that. If you were really a friend, no, I am a friend. I just don't think that I have to travel 1,800 miles to see you when you haven't done the same for me. And so that's just it. So I have my expectation of what friend is. Meanwhile, you have your expectation that says we're friends because we still connect on Facebook and like that's enough for you. You still feel connected. Meanwhile, the other person on the other side of friend has a different expectation, so they no longer feel connected at all. And so it's about having these then when that happens. And so even with family, it can be a situation where darn good and well they're not prepared to have that conversation. It's strong chance, high stakes, high emotion, differing opinions. Strong chance it's going to go all the way wrong because they don't have the skills that they need to have this conversation with you. And so then you go back to your whole clarity piece. How important is this relationship to me? How much longer will I tolerate being disrespected or feeling this, or being made to feel this way? And when I say made to, that's because that's the language the masses use. I would personally say, how long will I continue to allow this person to treat me this way? And then you have to be real about your willingness to just disengage. And it's hard sometimes. I mean, I've walked out of meetings when there were individuals. Obviously business is a little bit different, so you do have to handle that a little bit differently, but you still don't have to be disrespected. You don't have to ever feel like you're not valued or that your opinion doesn't matter, because your opinion does matter. And when it comes to dealing with that family piece, are there some things that you could do short of walking away from the relationship to make it better? If the answer is yes, try those things. If it gets better, great. If it doesn't, you got to cut it. Does that make sense? If you want more information stuff, we can talk about it in more detail, but hopefully I've given you kind of the big picture of how all that works. And it works famously. You guys, I promise you teach people how to treat you by what you accept from them. You teach people how to be in relation with you. And when you decide that doesn't work for you, you have to have some crucial conversations. You have to retrain them. It doesn't happen overnight. And so, there might be a couple times where you have these conversations. They don't go quite the best, but certainly you can see if it's going to get better, if it's going to be improved. Good stuff. Yeah, definitely. Let's talk. If it's going to be improved, and if you find that they're not making an effort, for me, this is how I look at it, and this is me personally. If they're not making an effort and I've given them every opportunity to be successful in relation with me, I'm okay not being in relation with them, and I'll call it. I don't have a problem taking an L. There's a line in White Men Can't Jump that says sometimes when you lose, you really win. That's how it is with friends and family. Sometimes you lose those relationships and you really win. Like, oh, he's like, dang, all of a sudden I got peace. There ain't no drama in my life. Nothing. Like, I'm not stressed out anymore. And then you start looking like, dang, why did it take me so long to do this? And it took you that long because you just didn't know better. You didn't realize that different really is possible, that better is possible. So that's what we're talking about. Trying to think what else, because I really went a lot deeper than I had intended. But I love sharing that particular strategy because it's game changing. It will change your life. I promise you. I promise you, it can change your life once you learn to exercise some self-control, being strategic about planning this out. And so, we were talking about knowing what you want out of the conversations, and then being honest, being clear about what you want, being honest about the role, and being honest about what you're willing to give up. And then, you have to, before any of this works, you guys, you have to believe that improvement is possible. You have to believe better is possible, because our attitudes and the language and the conversations that will take place as a result hinge and turn every single time on your belief that it's going to get better. Because you have to understand, this is all choices. No one is a victim of circumstance. Yes, you were born into a certain environment, but at some point when you get grown, you can choose to leave that environment. And I know a lot of times we move away from home, but we bring all the BS from home with us in our heads. So all the tracks that were laid and all of the I'm trying to think of another word except for the one I want to use, but mind games. I'll say games instead of the other word I want to use. We bring all that with us. And then we wonder why, like, well, dang, like, everybody treats me this way. Well, if you're saying having a conversation with the universe that says everybody treats me this way, then it's because you taught them that. And you've never taught them differently. So if you want different results, do things different, teach them different, have some crucial conversations, be prepared, get ready for the conversations. And it's okay to kind of think through your head, like, how's this going to go? How is this going to go? And, I call that being true to your heart. And I know I've shared with you guys before that I have a personal mission statement. And it starts with to lead with my heart, and then to love with my head, and to leave a legacy that my daughters can be proud to say, that's my mama, and this is what she stood for. And in the meantime, I just want to be happy. So that's my personal mission statement. I live by that. But that lead with your heart came from learning these strategies. Like, you have to be heart-centered. You have to be, what's going on, Mr. Herb Jackson? You have to be heart-centered. For me, that in my mission statement reminds me that I'm always a leader, but I need to still be able to be vulnerable. I still need to be able to be loving and caring and sensitive and all those things that so all of a sudden we think that, well, if I'm going to be a strong woman, or if I'm going to be a real man, I can't be those things. And it's just the opposite. If you're a strong woman and you're a real man, you know how to lead with your heart, because being heart-centered involves being strategic about what you allow in your heart, what you allow to pour out of your heart, and being strategic about the people you let in your life, because negative energy will kill you. Toxic people kill you. They kill you from the inside out. So there might not be no physical wounds. And when you think about domestic violence and you think about the epidemic of verbal, emotional, psychological abuse, there's no bruises, but on the inside, dead, emotionally bankrupt. There's nothing. You're a shell. And so it's hard. It takes a lot of work, and that's why trauma recovery is important to me. That's why it's the crux of and the foundation of everything that I do, is to cure that emotional bankruptcy. Crucial conversations are part of curing that emotional bankruptcy, because you have to self-advocate, and you have to be heart-centered. You have to do it from a place of self-love. I was talking to a client last night, and I told her, she said, well, I don't want to be selfish. I need to start being selfish. And she said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say so. I said, selfish is not a dirty word, but since it has a negative connotation that makes you think that you have to be apologetic for it, let's try self-service. We're willing to serve everyone else. Serve yourself. Serve yourself first. Airplane, put on your oxygen mask before you put on the oxygen mask of a person next to you. Even when that person is a child, put on your own oxygen mask first. That's what this is about. Putting your oxygen mask on before you walk into a high stakes conversation and then risk you going back to and reverting to old habits, which 9 out of 10 times is avoidance, leaving the situation, or caving, and then you don't feel heard, loved, respected, none of that. So in essence, you guys, freaking rebuke the foolery. Like, that is the thing. Like, I want everybody to like post rebuke the foolery and tag me in it, because that is the crux of how you get to a place where you can create dialogue instead of finding yourself in the middle of arguments. And don't be afraid if the conversation feels like it's all the way out of hand and you don't know how to rein it back in. Being able to simply say, you know what, this is not going at all like I had hoped, and before either one of us say something that we can't recover from, I think we need to take a break and come back to this another time. But then when you do that, make sure you circle back. Don't just give up the conversation and be like, you know what, I don't even want to go through that again. Stay true to your word. Teach people how to treat you. Teach them how to be in relation with you. And it's beautiful. You can just be happy. You rebuke the foolery. So remember, you guys, tag me, rebuke the foolery. I will rebuke the foolery. So tag me in it. And in the meantime and in between time, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Steph, thank you so much for sharing and asking the questions. I hope that something I said to you and to everyone else who's on here, either live or on replay, got a great takeaway, because that strategy is a game changer. It really, truly is. And it's huge, huge. I can't even tell you enough how much that strategy alone of the roles and responsibilities and being able to lead with my heart changed the game for me. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow night. I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow night from the book. Hang on, let me see. I got my notes here. So we're going to talk about the next step in dialogue. Clap, clap. Love you too, Steph. I love you. I appreciate you. Yeah, inbox me, call me, whatever, and let's talk. And we'll see if we can't get some crucial conversations moving in the right direction for you. All right, guys, I'm out of here. In the meantime and in between time, as always, thanks for living life on Mars. We'll talk soon.